Hey, this is Tony Soprano, and you're listening to Jersey Boyz Podcast with your hosts, Dave Sturchio and the Ernst Boys. I mean, I could give a shit about the Cowboys. We're in New Jersey. These guys got balls being Cowboys fans in Jersey. Anyways, enjoy. Or whatever.
How about this, Cowboys?
What's going on, Cowboys Nation? Welcome back to the Jersey Boyz Podcast. It is your boys, Dave Sturchio, and of course, America's fan, Keith Ernst. Brett on assignment, actually making his way to New Jersey. He's got a bunch of stuff in New Jersey, New York, Florida in a couple days. So Brett will be joining us probably next week or whenever we resume this as a trio. Keith, my man, how you doing? We haven't spoke on a podcast since the exit of the 2024-25 Dallas Cowboys.
We haven't, but we've been texting.
Oh yeah.
Oh, we text all the time.
Yeah, no, the texts, the receipts are still alive and well, and I really truly feel like if you have an iPhone and you have like storage, like different kind of categories, what you could do, and you're gonna see like photos and live photos and videos, but in Keith's phone, it's gonna say receipts. There's a whole bin full of receipts.
Absolutely, I back everything up, man. Even the things I get wrong, I'll show you a receipt on that.
And you know what? That takes a lot of pride. It takes balls and pride to admit when you're wrong. And there's a lot of things. I've been punting on a lot of you and your brother. There's so many things I'm like, you know what? I can't. There's no way I can argue about this right now. And when it was like February or March. Now we're in April. The Dallas Cowboys have a voluntary program, which started yesterday. It was good to see the boys come back to the Star. Very excited about that. We want to dive right into a lot of topics, obviously, a couple topics going into the draft next week, next Thursday night. The Dallas Cowboys hold the 12th pick. Very excited about it as it gets closer and closer. We'll talk more about that. But first and foremost, Micah Parsons decided to show up yesterday and listen, there's been years that he's just skipped this, right? It's just voluntary. I'm not, I don't have to do this. I don't have to be with my team. It's okay. I can work out on my own. Keith, what is your reaction to the fact that amidst the contract negotiations, Micah Parsons shows up and he wants to start leading this defense a little more? And this kind of goes back to the DeMarcus Lawrence departure. How are you feeling about Micah Parsons' arrival yesterday?
So this is what I think. This is how I break this down. I think he did that because he's kind of a team player. When I say that is, if he didn't show up, what would have the narrative been?
That he's waiting for his contract, and
exactly, he's holding out because. So I think if he had a contract, he may not have. I think he's doing that so not to create controversy, just to go, you know what I mean, that kind of stuff. Because that's how I see him showing up, because he doesn't want locker room talk. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That's how I look at that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I feel the same way. I think it's a testament to his leadership, and there was a lot that went down. Obviously, we haven't recorded in quite some time, so there's a lot of stuff that kind of came and went. But I really, really got behind the defense a little bit more when DeMarcus Lawrence decided to sign with Seattle, which was fine, right? If we can't afford him and we couldn't match his price, go for it. Go chase your ring somewhere else. I get it, right? It happens with the best of them, right? We all kind of watched DeMarcus Ware do it, and we watched DeMarco Murray go to Philly, and we've seen a lot of our star players head on out. But this one was different because he followed it up with a lot of bullshit. Really, he really followed it up with some talking shit about the fact that he wasn't going to win a Super Bowl in Dallas. So moving on to Seattle. Is that kind of how you took it? Because then right after his words there, you got a lot of Micah Parsons chatter, Osa, a couple of defensive guys saying, bet, fine, say what you got to say. It's our team now. Are you cool with that? How are you feeling about the leadership in itself on the defensive side of the ball now that DeMarcus Lawrence is no longer?
So I always talk about how tight locker rooms are, and they really are. It's almost like, they never leak anything. So obviously something was brewing with Lawrence and the boys. Something was brewing, and for him to come out and say that, then the Cowboys come out, his fellow ex-players are going to come out and defend the team, which I love. So, but my thing with DeMarcus Lawrence, and I've he's been a mainstay for the boys. He's had a great career there, but I've always questioned his leadership, always, and I always bring up Michael Bennett coming in and taking over the locker room in week 8 when DeMarcus Lawrence was supposedly our defensive leader. How are you going to let this guy from the Philadelphia Eagles come in, or whatever, Seattle, wherever he was at the time, come in and take over the leadership? I mean, anybody out there, when you start a job, your first day there, your second day there, you're feeling it out, you're doing this, you just don't come in and start puffing your chest, especially in a football locker room. Mm-mm. So that just shows you, what kind of leader he actually was. I'm not saying he was a bad player by no means, but I don't think he was the best leader. Now this opens it up for Micah to really, really, really take control and be crazy. The leader that this team needs.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to think that Micah Parsons on the defensive side of the ball, him and I guess Trayvon Diggs, and I know that there's a lot of people saying certain things about Trayvon Diggs, but as far as like tenured, D-Law was the longest tenured Cowboy in that defense, and now you look at the defense, and it's a complete overhaul, right? It's a complete overhaul, I think, and there's a lot of up-and-comers. There's a lot of positivity, and there's still some players in that team where you're just like, okay, we'll figure it out. But that leads us to, obviously Micah Parsons, the contract is the contract, right? We're all waiting for this thing to get done.
What's on the table for him right now? Do we know?
So from everything that I gather, he went on record, and I guarantee you his agent was grabbing him by the neck. Like, why would you say that? Right? Like, he basically went out and said he doesn't need to be the highest paid player in the NFL. He just wants a contract. He wants to, get paid, obviously. But he doesn't need this elaborate, like, the highest paid player in the league. And then when you hear that shit, you're just like, oh, well, shit, man, this guy's really is a team player. Now, again, he says that, and then certain other players start getting a lot more money and paid, right? So you don't want to fall into the pitfall that you fell in a million times over now with the Cowboys. Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones always wait to the 11th hour to sign these guys, and and what that does is it makes everybody's price go through the roof. So in my heart of hearts, I think he's still going to become the highest paid non-quarterback in the league. That's what I think is going to happen. It's just a matter of how you stretch it out, how you structure that contract to not cripple us, because, you and Brett and myself have all discussed what the Dak Prescott contract has done to the team, or, the Zeke Elliott first contract when he first signed on big money, how that does to the rest of the team. So I think that Micah Parsons is a team player. I think that him showing up yesterday was a very big deal, right? And I think that this shows the brass, being Steven and Jerry, that he's here for the long haul. He wants to be here for the long haul. Take care of your boy before it gets ugly, right? There's a whole nother year left. He can listen. He can say, look, we'll talk about this next year. It's fine. But this year I'm going to ball out again. And if you don't pay me now, I'm probably going to be worth a shit ton more at the end of the year if he balls out like we expect him to. So we'll see. Right now it's a standstill, and we're about to hit the draft. So and we've spent our dollars sort of as we segue into free agency, right? So we haven't spoke on a podcast about free agent signings. You've basically classified every signing as a little Sturch signing, because everything that we've done, I've gone on record and being very excited about it, right? Like, just not as aggressive as I used to be, but I'm trying to find reasons behind every signing, or at least the positive light in every signing. We let our running back Rico Dowdle walk, right? And he had himself a 1,000-yard year. And it's crazy about Rico is that he wasn't even dubbed the number one guy until like Thanksgiving, I feel like, right? So for him to still get 1,000 yards is admirable. They let him walk out the door. They pretty much substitute him in with Miles Sanders, who's had a stop in, Philly and Carolina. And obviously you got Javonte Williams from Denver. So those are your two running backs, along with your boy Deuce Vaughn and, of course, Hunter Lepke. They're all there still, right? And I believe Malik Davis is still on the practice squad. I don't even know. At this point, I don't know. But there was your big, quote, splashes, right? And then you bring back some of your former players. You bring back some of your own. We brought back Osa on a really good deal, because if you've seen the defensive tackle market, it was a fantastic contract done by the Joneses. You got to give credit where credit's due. But then my favorite signing, probably yours too, bringing back Dante Fowler Jr. I think that was a big one on the edge. Now, when you're looking at these free agents, Keith, Obviously, you're not as excited as I am because I'm just who I am, and that's how I'm
Well, let's
wired.
go. No, why don't you name? Do you have the list of our free agents in front of you?
Yeah, I can pull them up. It's a Google search. I had them before,
So why don't you give me the name and I'll grade it?
Sure. Why not? Let's see. Javonte Williams, running back. The Dallas Cowboys bring him in from Denver. If you give it to A to F, what's that grade for you?
A+. We're going to the Super Bowl. Next.
Why did I feel that was coming? Why did I feel that was coming?
I mean, look, our last two picks from Denver didn't work out. Was it Ronnie Harmon? Not Ronnie. Is it Ronnie Harmon or Ronnie
Harmon?
Who the hell am I thinking of? We had two running backs we've gotten from Denver.
Royce Freeman,
and the one before that was Hillman, wasn't it?
I don't think we ever had Hillman. No, I know you're talking about, but I don't think.
Well, regardless, they were that kind of splash, like not splash. Oh, they're coming. Royce Freeman's coming in, and I can't remember the other running back though. What was his name? Whatever. From Denver. He was from Denver.
From Denver.
Yeah. 2 years ago, and he got cut.
That wasn't Denver. That was Tampa, and it was.
Oh, you're right. Rojo. What is it?
I'm Rojo, by the way.
I'm Rojo too. Yeah, you're right. It wasn't Denver.
Ronald Jones from.
Ronald Jones, Rojo. Yeah. So that's how when I first saw this, that's what I was thinking. I was like, okay, this is just one of those running backs you can get for cheap that has experience.
Right.
But after looking at it and you convincing me that it's a good pickup, he and what else I read, which is when I looked into this running back, was because my big thing to you, and I don't know if you remember the text, I'm like, all right, if he's so great, why would he leave? Why would Sean Payton let him leave for $3 million if he's so great? Sean Payton's a friggin' offensive genius. You think he wants the weapons, but then I read they didn't get along.
There you go.
So there you go, right there. So that's one reason why Sean Payton was like, get him out of here because he didn't get along with him.
And you know what? And you know what? Our boy Shoddy is gonna straighten him up. Don't even worry about it. So
I'm shocked.
Staying in the.
All right. That being said, I give it a B. I give this one a B-.
I'm gonna go with you on that one. I'm gonna say B- for this signing. Mm-hmm. Now, staying in the running back room, Miles Sanders, right? Again, I feel like he's lost his way a little bit. They got him on the cheap. I don't. It's hard. Miles Sanders might be the Rojo, if we're being honest. You know what I'm saying? Like, might not be around after training camp and they make their cuts because, again, there's a lot of similarities to some of these backs on the roster right now where you don't need a duplicate of one guy. You know what I mean? Like, if they're similar styles, then you're not going to need both of them on the roster. So Miles Sanders, I'll start off. I give that like a C-, I guess. Like, he's a good rotational player. He could score a touchdown in the red zone, but I'm not excited about Miles Sanders. I'm excited about his name. It's the name of my son. So I guess that's cool, but that's about it.
Well, yeah, you look at the signing, and it's like, okay, he was on a really, well, I wouldn't say, they were bad, the Panthers, but they picked it up near the end of the season when we beat them. Yeah, one of our wins when they were playing well. But my thing is, with him, I bet he left Carolina because they have the kid from Texas they drafted that was injured most of the year, and then Hubbard, who had a great year.
Chuba got paid,
Yeah, so I meant he was expendable. And what are we, $2-3 million? Another one? Is that what he was this season?
A 1 year. It was a 1 year, three. No, it just says 1 year deal. It's so low that they don't even list the price.
Yeah. So I meant, for what it's worth to get someone with experience, maybe somebody with a chip on his shoulder, or he could be a running back that's checked out of the NFL already and just getting one more paycheck. So I don't know. So I give that a D.
Okay. All right. Harsh one for him, and that's just it's justified. Dante Fowler Jr., bringing him back. He excelled with Dan Quinn here, and then he excelled with Dan Quinn in Washington. Keith, do you think that Dante Fowler Jr. can succeed without Dan Quinn? Because now he's coming back as defensive coordinator, is a homeboy from Chicago. I'm drawing a blank right now. Eberflus. So do you think he can succeed under the parameters that Dan Quinn is not there to coach him?
I do. And my whole thing with him, with Fowler, though, is which I found he had one of his best seasons last year.
Yeah.
Better than with us than what he had with us or anyone else. Now, how I look at that too is because he was the dude. Like he was his Micah Parsons. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm just interested to see, how that works, how they work together, because you run stunts, you might be giving most of your stunts to Micah Parsons over Fowler, putting him in other positions that he won't excel like he did in Washington. So I'm not sure, but as the player and the talent and to have a rotation with him, I give that an A minus.
Yeah, I'm with you on I'm in the A minus range, B plus. You know what it is? I feel like, when DeMarcus Lawrence departs and you need some edge rush help and you want flexibility with a Micah Parsons, meaning you can kind of move him around like a chess piece if you choose to, right? You need defensive line and defensive end help. And I think with the emergence of Nealon towards the end of the year, and now you're getting Sam Williams back off of injury, you do have a nice little rotation going on.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to address some more of that within the NFL draft. I think that's what they're going to do there. But also staying on the defensive line, Solomon Thomas. Now he's a little older, a little bit of a journeyman, comes from the Jets, very good locker room guy, apparently, from everything that I've read, a leader, a Cowboy fan at heart, coming back to Texas. He's another one that I think if you pair him up with guys like Osa and, you hope to God you get something out of Mozzie Smith this year, and he came on for some spurts. I think Mozzie Smith did last year. Not the complete guy that you want, but he did all right. He's serviceable at defensive tackle. I think adding a Solomon Thomas is a nice, solid move. I'll give that one a B plus as well.
Okay, what is he? Was he 30?
He's on the wrong side of youth as far as defensive tackles are concerned.
29. He's 29.
Okay.
He's been in 2017. He was the third pick. I mean, it's one of those things where it's hard to tell because we've been burned on free agency with defensive tackles from Dontari Poe.
I don't even know why you have to say his name.
Didn't we have Atkins too? Geno Atkins?
One of the guys from Houston, right? Or something like that? Atkins sounds familiar, yeah.
Yeah, but he got injured like in training camp. So I meant, it's one of the best. I think the best defensive tackle we've gotten free agent, as far as I remember, is Leroy Glover.
That was the last time we spent more than $6 million, I think.
Yeah. So I mean, look, for him to, it could be. If he's doing this because he wants to go back to Texas and he's a Cowboy fan and all that kind of stuff, and he took somewhat a pay cut when he was getting offers from other people. I don't know. So we do need help. It's just a position like with defensive tackle. Like you look at people and that there's not many Aaron Donalds or people that last a long time at defensive tackle.
Yeah, and I think defensive tackle, as important as it is, because Osa got paid and he's one of the free agents technically, right? Because he was on his way out. Osa for me, it's an A+ signing with the deal that he got. But like defensive tackle your job is to just take on shit. You know what I mean? Like your job is to make your defensive end and these middle linebackers that are blitzing up the A and B gaps. Like that's your job, is to just take a beating up front. And I think that we've lacked that. It helped. We've been doing this podcast now. This is our 5th season, I think, and we have yet to stop the run, right, in 5 years. So it is crazy. And I think that the depth is going to help. And I think the leadership is going to help. He also has ties to Dak Prescott and his foundation. So it's like there's little nuanced things that you can pick apart.
I'll give the benefit of the doubt. I'll give it a C.
Okay. There is a guard that was signed, Robert Jones. I do want to let you know that the last time the Dallas Cowboys had a roster member named Robert Jones, we won the Super Bowl. So I don't know if that spells Super Bowl for us, but Robert Jones, Mr. 55.
Linebacker, number 55.
55, linebacker Robert Jones. This is not the same guy, not even any relation whatsoever, but Robert Jones is signed as a guard. I'll give it a C just because, you do need interior deep.
Yeah, and he has experience in starts.
Yeah.
I'll give that a C. I'll give it a C.
Okay. This one was the one that kind of made Cowboys fans say, what the fuck is going on? Everybody's been pointing at needing a counterpart for CeeDee Lamb. Get weapons around Dak Prescott. Do all that stuff. Help out Dak. Help out the offense. And they were like, we need a number 2, right? There was guys like Cooper Kupp out there who was contacted by Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb. politicking. Come on down. Like, come on down. There was receivers galore out there in the first wave of free agency. We decided not to touch any of them. We bring back Cavante Turpin, which is cool, but the one I'm talking about is Paris Campbell. Now, this dude is not established himself anywhere. He's done a bunch of 1-year stints, 2-year stints with these teams. Still a young guy, but again, he's not your number 2, Keith.
No. So I mean, no disrespect, the guy's in the NFL. So
correct. Yep.
Obviously a phenomenal athlete, but I give that. I don't know if I would even say F because I don't know how much they gave him.
They gave him like nothing. It's like,
yeah. So I mean, I give that a D.
Yeah, that's almost like a, hey everybody, shut up. We signed a receiver. You know what I mean? I'm like, no.
It is, and it's like, prove yourself. Maybe the kid will prove himself. Who knows?
Now remember, we gave up. There's a reason why we're not in the 4th round this year in the drafts because we gave it up for Jonathan Mingo. So people are looking at Mingo. Yeah, exactly. So the receiving room is very, very.
I'll be honest, man, and I know we try to talk about this in text, and we'll get into it when we get to the draft. But I'll wait till we get into it because I know what you want, and we'll talk about it there. But anyway,
sure. So there's not much more to talk about as far as the free agents are concerned. Cavante Turpin was brought back. Marquise Bell got a new deal. I think that's a great signing for the Cowboys with the value that they got. It's a 3-year deal for Marquise Bell, so he's sticking around for a little while.
Love it.
So overall, Keith,
well, they brought back the defensive players that we liked.
Exactly.
Pretty much.
Exactly.
No. But you're missing a couple free agents though.
From linebackers. The kid from Chicago, was a Sandstorm or Sands, something to that effect.
The white boy, I don't know.
The white boy from Chicago. Now, again, there's a lot of content creators out there and podcasts out there that consider everything that Jerry has been doing. You look at it with rose-colored glasses, and people are just like, "Hey, we got ourselves a new linebacker, right? We needed a new linebacker." The guy's succeeded on special teams. He does know ball. He's a very smart linebacker. I'm excited about it. I am. Again, I can't sit there and say like it's going to be the greatest earth-shattering thing in the world. And I'm looking for his name. I can't for whatever reason. Yeah. We also signed Peyton Turner, defensive end. Jack Sanborn. So Jack Sanborn is your new. You know what? And I'd be remiss. The linebacker room did get a little bit of a burst with not only Sanborn, but they did get Kenneth Murray Jr. In a good deal for a 7th round.
That was our first out, free agent that wasn't ours that kind of we brought in that everyone was kind of excited about.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is
I'm not at all. I give that an F.
Oof, you're hard on Kenneth Murray.
I'm very hard, and the main reason why is which I don't understand. We had such an issue with our linebackers and Damone Clark and. They don't know how to fill holes. They're not very good against the run. This guy, Kenneth Murray Jr., he ranked 80th out of 185 in stopping the run in Pro Football Focus. And you could talk about scheme all you want. 180th? That's bad, dude. So I don't know what they see. Maybe they see something in him. But just reading that, when you're one of the worst tackling linebackers in the NFL, top 5.
Right.
That is something that we were the worst. Again, I mean, it doesn't even make sense.
Yeah. I mean, look, he was a visit in 2020. So, like, he was a visit before he even got drafted to the Cowboys. So I think the need is because of the fact that we're so thin at linebacker. Now you're starting to stockpile a bunch of linebackers who might be mediocre. But look, we've got some news that, came from the horse's mouth. DeMarvion Overshawn wants to play in OTAs, right? He wants to go right now.
Yeah,
I wouldn't rush him back by any stretch. I think he's that talented of a player to not fuck around. Because we need him. We need him, and we need his ball skills, or we need his speed and his just football IQ. We need him on the field. So let's not rush him back. But if we're really in this dire situation where we're just like, holy shit, all the linebackers that we brought on, including guys like a second year for Liafu and, it's just, and Damone Clark still on the roster. So I
don't understand that. I don't understand it. Look, if Kendrick signs back, that's huge.
I wish.
I just, man, he looks like last year. He played awesome, but you can just see he's tired of this shit, dude.
Yeah. We also brought back.
Yeah.
We also brought back Izzy on a nice deal. He's back. Brian Anger, our punter's back. So CJ Goodwin always gets that 1-year sniper deal. He always gets that. It's almost like he's our new long snapper. Speaking of long snapper, we also brought back him. And Trent Sieg. He's no McQuaid, but he is Sieg. So look, there's plenty of good to get excited about for the free agents and the trades. And that's another thing I want to definitely give credit where it's due to the Joneses. They got a lot of compensatory picks, and they turned them into players, right? They started all these extra picks that we thought we were going to have in the 6th, 7th, 5th round, whatever. They flipped them for players that were established in the league already. They might have gotten abused, like there was the trade that they made with the Bills where I was like, oh, cool, we got a corner, Khair Elam. But if I remember correctly, he was legitimately picked on in the AFC title game. You know what I mean? So it's all kind of wait and see, and you can't grade a free agency class until you see him on the field. Obviously with the hype, yeah, fine. We can get excited about certain players. We can get kind of down on a couple others just because of their past and their lineage of what they've done already in the league. We don't want to go too crazy and say like, this guy's a bust. He stinks, right? He might actually come out and ball out. We don't know. Yeah. But that's free agency in a nutshell. The Cowboys have never made big splashes. They haven't made a big splash. I can't even remember the last time they made a big splash, and we're not counting Greg Hardy. That's the bullshit splash. T.O. wasn't a trade, right? That was a free agent thing?
No, it was a free agent, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, like, that was 2006, 5, 6, 7. One of those two, 3. But, again, free agency ain't our MO. So we focus and move our shit to the NFL draft. Now, there are a million people out there doing mock drafts galore. It's pretty apparent what the Cowboys need, right? Do you draft need? Do you draft want? Do you draft best player available? Keith, I'm going to ask you this real quick before we dive into some of the players and then what you want. Like, did the Cowboys do enough in free agency to draft best player available at 12?
No.
Okay, so there's obviously a glaring need that you think they have to do at 12. Okay, that's fine. Because I think they did do a bunch of plug-and-play guys, and I think that I feel like they've addressed running back, right? But if somebody just so happens to fall, you pull trig, right? Like you're like, oh, well, there's no reason for this to be a thing right now. You have to go get them. They have not addressed wide receiver in a way that I think they have to. Right now, you're looking at CeeDee Lamb, and then you're looking at Jalen Tolbert, Mingo, Campbell, Turpin, Brooks. A lot of the younger guys that we haven't seen a lot of, but we can get excited about him. But there's not anybody that you're not going to be a defensive coordinator and say, okay, we got a game plan for number 2 right now because we know that Lamb is going to be a pain in the ass, but man, oh man, is that other guy on the outside going to be a pain in the ass? We don't have that guy. So now there's a need at receiver. I think that, the way the cards fall, there's been plenty of mock drafts that say, you know what, just take the best offensive tackle that's out there. We lost Zach Martin to retirement. They don't know what they're going to do with right guard and center. They could shift BB back to right guard or a guard position where he's kind of comfortable, or you leave him at center and you just have him work with Dak. Tyler Guyton hasn't really, jumped off the charts yet. We think he's a little bit of a project. Then you got Terrence Steele on the right tackle, which they seem to love him for whatever reason. I feel like he's a turnstile sometimes. And then you have Tyler Smith, who's an all-pro right now already. And Brock Hoffman, I guess I mentioned there. So maybe we need an offensive lineman, right? And you flip over to the defensive side, right? Do we need another pass rusher? Do we need another linebacker since you're not on board with a couple of these linebackers because now Overshawn, you don't know when we're going to get him back. We don't know the status of Trayvon Diggs. He might miss half the year. Do we need a corner, right? So there are needs for the Cowboys. They made moves in the offseason to, kind of make it okay to draft best player available in my position. But I'll throw it to you. What do the Cowboys need to draft at 12? Not so much the player, the position of need to you. What do you think it's going to be?
Well, anyone who listens to this show religiously, I would like to know what they would think I'm about to say. I'm going to give them a second.
Okay. Yeah. I'm the guy in the car right now driving, and I'm like, Keith wants defense.
I want defense. I want linebacker. I want inside linebacker. That's what I want. I want the dude from Alabama, the dude from Georgia. I don't care. We need another good run stopper. We got to build around Micah Parsons. That's the only way we're winning. We're not winning building around Dak Prescott. It's just not happening. Okay, he's an average to an above average quarterback when he's playing. I mean, sometimes he plays exceptional in elite status. Yes, I do agree. But in the long run, he's an average to above average quarterback. He doesn't suck. Okay, he's not a bad quarterback, but he is not going to throw the team on his back and win a game. He did it once in the last 2 years, and it was against Seattle on Thursday night. If the defense folds, Dak Prescott folds. So my whole thing is we need to build around Micah, get as many ballers as we can, and we got to win with defense because our offense will score points. We got to be able to keep if we could keep a defense under. An opposing offense under 20 points, 18 to 20 points, or 17 to 20 points, we can win. We can win that game. We're not going to win shootouts. We're just not.
That's 6 field goals right there by Aubrey. You win 18-17, game's over.
Yeah, yeah. So me, I'm all about defense. I'm not saying, and I'm not as hard on our receivers as a lot of Cowboy fans. I think Tolbert and Brooks, they shine with rush. And I'm not saying Cooper Rush is better than Dak, but damn, were they catching? I mean, there were some nice. I went back and watched a couple of the games because I wanted to see because I was looking at the stats. I'm like, wow, Brooks and Tolbert, their stats kind of went up. Especially I met Rush played a game without CeeDee Lamb most of the game and was hitting them. So I don't think getting a receiver in the first round when we could get one of the best linebackers in the draft. That's how I feel. I would take the best line if there's the best linebackers available. I would take that.
You're talking about Jahad Campbell of Alabama, 6'3", 235 pounds. Guy's a unit, right? Like we all know that he's going to be good at linebacker. And then there's obviously a lot of hybrid edge rushers that could be,
the dude from Penn State's unreal.
Oh well, first of all,
yeah, he's gonna go second or third though.
My biggest nightmare right now is for the Giants to land him. That's my nightmare situation. I hope to God the Giants don't have the opportunity to take him, right? Like, I hope the Giants are sitting there with a decision to make between Shador Sanders and, like, Travis Hunter. Maybe they got to pick between the teammates, right? Like, and you're like, oh, shit, now what are you going to do, right? But that dude, that defensive end is going to be a game wrecker. Abdul Carter, if the Titans didn't need a fucking quarterback, he would be the number one overall pick.
Oh, absolutely.
And
I would go if I go one offensive player. Obviously, you know how I feel about Cam Ward. About the U and all that. So, I think I watched every single one of Cam Ward's games, and I was so impressed. The kid's going to be a stud. So, obviously, that's who I would want. But I meant just for the future. But we know that's not happening. So, I have to pick one offensive player. If I have to pick one offensive player, if I had to pick one that I'd want, it'd be the running back from Boise State, Gentry.
Okay.
That's who I would want. I wouldn't mind that.
So
you get a young running back first 2 or 3 years, man. They are. Look at Zeke the first 2 or 3 years. It's a game changer.
And I think you're talking also about Jalen Walker, who kind of plays the edge slash hybrid linebacker if he needs to. Yeah. So listen, that is it's to me, if the Cowboys went linebacker because the best linebacker in the country was there, I'm not saying boo, right? I'm like, shit. Like I've seen what the Cowboys can do with a really good defense, right? We've seen what they can do. They almost, we could say almost for the last 30 years, but like they've had their best teams when their defense has been the forefront, right? When Romo was there, I feel like 2014, 2015, our defense was right there, right? They were right there. It was a great defense. So now, obviously we've been through the 2020 Mike Nolan thing, right? We had a bad run for a little while, but I feel like they do have enough youth and leadership that if you add a linebacker at 12, I am all for it. You could sign me up for it because of the fact that maybe the guys that I covet aren't there anymore, right? And that's probably the only way that these guys slide, right? If these linebackers and edge rushers slide, that means somebody reached and grabbed a receiver in the top like 6 or 7, right? So that could be a thing. Now, if you ask me what the Cowboys need, Did they do enough in the free agency to not address the running back? You take Ashton Genty if he's there. 12, he's there. You take him. Does he get past Chicago? No, I don't think so. Does he get past the Raiders? I don't think so, right? But again, the Raiders have been linked to Shador Sanders for the last 365 days. But I don't think he gets past any of these teams that I think need a running back. I wouldn't even pass it by the fucking 49ers who have McCaffrey coming off of 18 soft tissue injuries to draft a running back, right? You never know.
Wait, they don't pick before us, do they?
Oh, they're right before us. Yeah. They're 11. So
son of a bitch.
Yeah, no, that's going to be a nasty situation, I think. Like, it's one thing to see the Giants because they're pick 3, so you're like, all right, they're bound to get a good player. But then you see a team like the fucking 49ers that are sitting there at 11, and they're like, ooh, this is who I want. I want the linebacker. Bang, goes the Niners, and your mind will get completely blown up.
So this reminds me of a early 80s draft where the San Francisco 49ers, the Dallas Cowboys were set on taking one player, and the 49ers picked right behind them, right before them.
Who was
that? Who was that player?
What year?
83, 82, 83, maybe?
Shit, no, it's before. I mean, they were shit back then, so it had to be a high draft pick, right?
It was a first round pick. The Cowboys were
I'm talking about like pick within the first round.
Actually, no. This was another shocking thing I saw, but just go with that. Just what do you?
Fucking, dude.
He would have been a Dallas Cowboy, and it's fucking crazy.
Not Ken. Oh, Ken Norton already played.
Jerry Rice.
Shut the fuck up. Are you serious?
Yes. Cowboys were going to take him. Niners picked right before us and took Jerry Rice.
Could you imagine?
I know. That was right when, I'm pretty sure Drew Pearson didn't get in the car accident yet, so he was still there when Rice came out. But I meant, but we still had Tony Hill, bro. It would have been fantastic. But anyways,
who the hell was throwing the ball in '83? That was in Staubach still, right?
Who? No, it was Danny White.
Danny White, yeah, that was.
And Gary Hogaboom, yeah, they were there. But no, I was going to say that there's one receiver taken before Jerry Rice. I loved him as a non-Cowboy. I thought he was great. He was so good.
Just tell me what team he got drafted, and I'll tell you who he is.
You know who he is. You're going to know who he is because it's your little secret, which I always call. I know you're a diehard Dallas Cowboy fan for life. But there's always a little soft spot for this green fucking team that you always have.
Art Monk?
New York.
Was it Monk?
From New York. No, I'm talking about the Jets.
I thought it was Monk. Who the hell?
No, Monk was on Monk is on the Redskins.
Oh, I thought he was a Jet.
Your dad knows. Your dad's probably screaming it out right now.
Crabette?
No, dude. This is the early 80s, man.
Altoon?
Yes, dude. That was a beast, bro. He went before Rice? He did go before Rice. I mean, it's not a bad pick. It's not like he's a bust at all. Yeah.
No.
But yeah. Anyways, sorry.
That's funny. All right. Well, anyway.
So who do you want?
I want a receiver. And the reason why I want a receiver is simply this. I think that Dak Prescott needs a number 2, a solid number 2. Now, I understand that when Dak got into the league, he had Dez and company, right? And then we got Amari Cooper. And there was one time where Amari Cooper and Dez Bryant were pretty much, ready to rock and roll. But I think he needs a young, fast guy that could separate off the line.
I think you mean with CeeDee Lamb, Amari and CeeDee, right?
That's what I meant. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Where we had it, we had the twosome there, and we're like, oh, this is gonna be nice,
CeeDee
right?
Was still young though, right? He was like a rookie.
Right. So now CeeDee Lamb is in that Cooper scenario where he's now a couple years into the league. Now you got to bring somebody else. There is obviously a bunch of mock drafts that are, some people like Matthew Golden out of Texas. Some people like Abuka from Ohio State. Some people like Luther Burden III. Me, I think it's simple. It's Ted McMillan. I think that's the guy. I think he's the one that I think would cause the most havoc as the number 2 in Dallas. Now, that doesn't mean that the Cowboys have to become this air raid offense, right? Because you need to establish the run at all times. That's football. That's what it is. But if you have a second actual threat, and again, I don't want to disrespect all the guys that are on the team right now, but they haven't taken the leap. We've talked to Jesse Holley, former Dallas Cowboy receiver. He said last year was do or die for guys like Jalen Tolbert. And while he definitely had himself a decent season, found the end zone a bunch, he don't move the needle for me. He hasn't make me as a defensive coordinator say, like, got to find out where Tolbert is at all times, right? If you have CeeDee Lamb and Ted McMillan lining up 1-2, and then maybe even same side where CeeDee's in the slot where he does his best work, or vice versa, like, you have yourself a nice threat in the passing game, right? Now, again, if Gianti's there, I'm all for a running back, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm all for just saying, you know what? The hell with this shit. Run the football. He's the best running back in the country. Now, for whatever reason, Mel Kiper Jr. thinks Omarion Hampton, like out of North Carolina, has shot up the ranks as the next best running back besides Jeanty. So I'm very, and even Trayvon Henderson out of, there's 2 running backs at Ohio State, which is even crazier. But I just feel like the receiver is the need, even though they've thought they addressed it. I still think that's the glaring hole, because the reason why I say that is because when Overshawn is ready to rock, right, and you have guys like Liafu coming on as his second year, and you have these other linebackers, there's only so many linebackers you can have, right? And I think they have a decent linebacking core. I say decent. And look, you add one of these guys that you like, sure, it gets a whole lot better. But again, got to score points in the NFL. You have to score points, specifically for the Dallas Cowboys. And you want to run with teams like Philadelphia going forward, and Washington and Detroit and all these teams, Minnesota and Green Bay is on the emergence. And not so much the Niners, that window's closed, but like the Rams are going to be good again, I think, right? So like, you have to score points in the NFL. If you can get me 24 to 30 points a week with your scheme of 20 points to 17 to 20 points on defense, Cowboys are going to have a decent season, right? But you need to score the points. Yeah, I don't know if this Dallas Cowboys, we saw it last year, man, what they didn't and did not do on this offensive side of the ball. And I know that goes back to Dak Prescott, and I know
that's my whole thing is like, what do you? I mean, do you think just getting these more awesome players, like that's gonna? I don't know. I think it might go a little deeper than that, man. That's why I'm all about defense. I mean, look, he's had Dez, he's had Amari, he's had CeeDee, he's had Witten, he's had so many friggin',
and he's almost won MVP. He's almost won MVP.
1 year.
Yeah, and you know what? Not for nothing. I think it was kind of screwed. I think he was screwed over. I honestly think he should have won MVP. Look at the numbers. He had better numbers than Lamar. Lamar just possessed. Lamar possessed the extra ability to take off and change a game with his legs, and that's why you win MVP.
But
right?
Once again, with that though, you got to look at the games. Look at the games that like what games did he win for us? Lamar Jackson wins so many games for us. Dak Prescott, like I said, the Seattle game is the only one where he went tit for tat with Geno Smith on Thursday night, and he outscored him. I mean, otherwise, I bet there's no. I don't, bro. I could go through from 2016. And maybe I'll do it on the next show. I remember every single games where he just. I just got in a discussion on what's it called on a football page because they brought up the game that got Brett and I fired from blogging on the boys. 49er, the 49er game in Dallas, and people forget Dak Prescott got the ball back with 3.5 minutes left. We're down by 6. With 3.5 minutes left, what does he do? He goes 3 and out. Terrible. Punts the ball. Our defense stops him again, and we have to use our timeouts because we had to go. And then what happens? That's the whole center snap thing because they were playing prevent and all that shit. But there's so many games like that where, bro, once again, he had Amari Cooper. He had Dalton Schultz. He had Zeke that was still playing well. He had CeeDee Lamb. He had all these. It doesn't. I mean, how many times can you do this before you got to point the finger at the person?
Listen, all that stuff is valid. I'm not about to sit there and be like, you're wrong in every way, shape, and form, right? No, you're definitely right. There's been plenty of times where Dak Prescott had the ability or the chance to lead us to the promised land on certain games, and he just hasn't delivered, right? And I think for games like that, and then you got, to me, it's not just the San Diego game. It was the Chargers or Seattle. It's not just that game to me. And I don't think that Dak Prescott needs to light up the scoreboard for 500 yards a game. I don't think he has to do that, right? I just think he has to play good, sound football. Remember, last year's best game, what was it? Pittsburgh threw 2 picks, right?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
But he still played a great game of football. So
well,
I
he did,
feel,
and he, that was.
I feel like there's a lot more of that, and I understand. Look, I'm a Dak apologist. Everybody says it. Everybody knows it, right?
You are.
I am.
Yeah.
I am. I'll be the first one to admit that Dak Prescott to me is the guy that I would choose if I had to choose one quarterback to win the Super Bowl. Not saying that he could or can't, saying to win it because of who he is. It's Dak, and it's not close, right? Like it's the.
You mean where in the league or in the team?
On the team.
Oh yeah. Right.
Yeah. No. Come on. But I'm saying no. What I'm saying is I think that Dak has the ability. If you look, the proof is in the pudding coming off a nasty injury. When he broke his ankle that year in 2020, we went down the shitter. He came back the next year like a fucking savage, and he absolutely balled out. 35 touchdowns to 9 picks, over 4,000 yards passing, if I'm not mistaken, if not more. I just feel like this could be a very, very good offseason program, which he, they talked to him at the Cancer Foundation. He said if they had to lace him up today, he could. So that's a great sign.
But there's another thing we're not talking about is his legs.
Well, they brought that up. They said, look,
he ain't gonna run like he used to, bro.
No, here's
It's
not
gonna happen. It's not the
Dak. Here's the difference. Here's the difference. The difference is he's not a runner. He can be mobile. Is what I'm saying. He's not going to be, there's not going to be times where he's not Lamar Jackson. He's not the guy that's going to dial his own numbers first. He's not Justin Fields.
If you go back to 2000, when you go back to his rookie year and even after that, I bet that was a huge factor. I forgot what linebacker on the Chiefs called him the best quarterback in the league because he had that ability to scramble and get big yards. You didn't know what to do. Whether he can be somewhat elusive or not, that's not going to cut it. He's not that accurate. He needs the legs were something that contributed to him being so good. He's going to be more of a pocket passer. That's not his style, dude. It's just not.
I know he's coming off the hamstring and he's broken his ankle and he's had plenty of injuries, lower body, where you're thinking, okay, there's no more chance that Dak Prescott could be a running quarterback, right? I will put him in the same category when it comes to running. I will put him in the same category as a Justin Herbert, right? Where he's not the guy that he's going to line up a shotgun. You're like, okay, well, Justin, tuck it and run. No, but if Justin has to tuck it and run, he'll make a play. I think Dak Prescott could still be that quarterback. I really do. I'm not saying there's going to be designed RPOs like Lamar Jackson, where you stick it in the gut of your running back, and now you're going to pull back because you can't. Well, you got to watch out where Dak is. That's not a thing. He's not that guy. I don't think he's ever been that guy, to be honest with you. I know he's had plenty of flash in his first couple of years in the league when he was younger and he's had no injuries and all this other shit. I get it. I don't look at Dak like he's going to be some pocket passer. I don't see it. He's not Tom Brady. He's not the guy that's going to drop back and just kind of wait, and he can't run with no ability to run. He's not Cooper Rush. Cooper Rush was sitting back there like a fucking statue last year, and I know if Dak was out there, he might have made a couple plays.
Oh, absolutely. Right? Yeah, so Rush doesn't like to run at all.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't think that Dak Prescott's going to go into this year like, I'm going to rush for 400 yards and I'm going to score 6 touchdowns. I think he's going to have to say, but
what I'm trying to say is that I don't care what Dak Prescott's thinking. I don't care what the offense of the Cowboys. I'm telling you the game plans that other defenses are going to come up with. And that is going to keep him in the pocket. I mean, they know he's not going to be able to run. There's not going to be any designed run plays. It's a whole different strategy, and he's going to be handcuffed. That's just my opinion. And and look, man. Look, I said he's average, above average.
We're a decade into this. I get it, bro. I get the.
I'm done. I'm done. He's not it unless he can pull a John Elway. At the end of his career, but at least
this one's for John.
Elway did get to 2 Super Bowls before he won those Super Bowls. So, I mean, the guy that comes. And look, I was high on Dak Prescott coming into last season. He won me over again because he did have a great season the year before. You're saying he was MVP, and he was not the reason we lost to the Packers. Okay, he did throw a pick 6, and he did throw an interception, putting them in the red zone, but he scored 5 times in a row in that game.
Right.
After that, and Green Bay just kept scoring touchdowns, so we couldn't do anything. So I don't blame him. I do blame him once again for both of those 49er losses. that we had.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. I don't blame him for the Rams one. I don't blame him for the first Packer
Rams
one.
were
He had a good
Rams
game
were
in the
the
first Packer one. But I'm just saying those two. But there are games like that against Philly one time where we needed that game to win the division. We didn't even score a touchdown that game, and they beat us. They won the division at what 8-8 or something.
Yeah.
I mean, the Eagles did. I mean, I don't. I can go on and on. I'm just not falling for it again. I'm not. I don't care. He's going to have to go. He's going to have to make it to the Super Bowl. Not even an NFC Championship game. He's going to have to make it to a Super Bowl for me to be like, okay, there's shit or egg all over my face, whatever it is. Because, but it's one of those things. It's like, then I'd be like, if I'm Dak, I'd be like, I get why somebody wouldn't believe in me. Seriously.
Sure. And I think that's where he's at right now. I think that he knows, he's well aware that the jury is almost completely convinced that this dude cannot do it, right? And it doesn't help that the Philadelphia Eagles won a Super Bowl with Jalen Hurts, right? All these little factors that are going to work against the Dak Prescott army or the people that support the guy or back him, or like me, where I'm just, apologetic about the dude forever, right? I just feel like he possesses the ability to win a football game. I just don't know the scenario that's needed. And what it starts with is having more weapons. And again, I understand that, you can't just stockpile a fantasy team on one side of the ball. I get that, right? But I think last year we saw a lot more glimpses of hope out of our defense playing well down the stretch than our offense couldn't score points, right? And that's, again, Cooper Rush was the quarterback, whatever. But
Cooper Rush wasn't that bad either, dude.
No,
I mean, we put up points.
He wasn't bad, but he wasn't good either. You know what I mean? Like we never went into a podcast after a game. It's like, boy, oh boy, he lit up the score, right? Like he won a good game because he's a good, sound quarterback, right? And now he's going to go back up Lamar Jackson because they needed another scrambler behind Lamar Jackson, which makes zero fucking sense whatsoever.
Yeah.
Zero sense, like 0.0. He can't run the Lamar. I don't get that shit at all. But in any event, Godspeed. I hope he's okay. But we did make a quarterback move as we wrap this up. Joe Milton III, bro. Listen, strong arm, mobile as all shit. Flashed a lot last year in one game, right? People are like, oh, look at this guy. He can ball, right? His arm is a cannon, right? He's got a hell of an arm. Do I think he's the future of the Dallas Cowboys? No, I don't. But I'm willing to have him win me over when Dak's riding off into the sunset because, again, I don't think, despite the fact that your boy Pat Volckermer can sit there and say, like, they're going to get rid of Dak Prescott. This is what's going to happen. Blah, 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 blah. And, none of that shit's going to happen, right? Dak will be a Cowboy until he decides he's done being a Cowboy. That's my opinion, and that's how I feel. This is how they treat their quarterbacks. Think about that, Keith. Think about that.
No, I agree. He'll be a Cowboy as long as he wants, but if somebody's outshining him in camp, they'll bench his ass.
Down the road, maybe not.
That's what I mean.
Year.
Yeah, not in camp, but no, not only in camp. I'm sorry,
look,
during the season, they're not just going to be like, "Well, he's the highest paid, so he's going to play." If Dak is sucking dick, okay, and fucking Milton comes in, and fucking oh shit, look at this kid, he's ripping it. Oh well, Dak just had a bad game. We're going to start him again next week. That's not going to happen. That is not going to happen.
I think the Cowboys fans.
Sucks, and this kid comes in and plays well. That kid will start the rest of the season. Watch.
I think everybody wants Joe Milton III to be Willie.
Well, that's our receipt, everyone. So basically, I'm very high on Joe Milton III. Okay, I liked him in Tennessee.
Yeah.
Yes, and I kind of wanted us. If you guys go back, no one's going to remember, but I brought him up on the podcast for the other draft one we had. I like him a lot. So I'm very thrilled that he's getting a chance. And people are their biggest gripe with other people, other Cowboy fans say, well, if he's so good, why did the Patriots let him go? Because they have Drake May. They got a first rounder who's a baller as well. Guaranteed Milton went to them and they honored him. Said, I want to go somewhere where I can be a starter as a future.
Well, they did. They actually he narrowed down his teams, but the Cowboys were on top of his list. And I don't know if Milton has this like nod, wink, wink. Like, look, we all seen what Dak can do. I can definitely outshine him, right? Like, I don't know. I don't know if there's a confidence thing. There won't be. To me, there's no competition this year, right? There's a serviceable backup where I think that, God forbid, Dak comes in, something ain't right, and needs to, take some time off again. Then you have a decent backup you can get excited about. I wasn't the needle wasn't moving to the extreme when Cooper Rush came in. I'm like, well, he's won games, right? It never did it for me. With him, it could, right? It could make me like, oh shit, we got ourselves Willie fucking Beeman over here, and that's gonna be great. And we're gonna watch him do his thing, and he's gonna get Metrics commercials and shit. Like, it's gonna be great.
Well, because he's young and we don't know what he is. That's
right.
why.
And,
we don't.
And
bringing up his last game of the season and
cost the fucking Patriots the number 1 overall pick.
It did. And
yeah,
as high as I am on him, people got to realize Buffalo was resting their starters and everything.
Right, of course.
So I meant, they're still NFL players, this and that, but it wasn't a legit test. Right. So he's still yet to have that legit test. But I like what I see, and I think I'm excited.
The problem I have now, and because of the fact that we know how things go in Dallas as far as preseason, I know what you, me, and Brett all in agreement. Get your asses out there and play some fucking preseason games, Dak and starters and CD and all these guys. I firmly believe it would help them, and I don't know if they'll change their ways. However, I will preface this and end the podcast like this. There probably will be some big-time flashes of great out of Milton III in the preseason where we're all like, yo, like it might be time. Like, oh shit. I know how it works over here. ESPN's headlines are gonna be great.
But you're missing the point. You're missing what you just said. If he's playing with the shit players, you know what I'm saying? Oh, sorry, I don't mean to say shit. They're in the NFL. So I take that back. But if he's playing with the players that aren't stringers, like third or fourth stringers, that's not fair on him either.
That's very fair. I get it, and it remains to be seen. We shall find out, but we shall find out what the Dallas Cowboys do with the 12th overall pick in the NFL draft going down next Thursday. We're gonna try to get back on before that as it gets closer, but just tune into all the social medias, Jersey Boyz on Twitter, Instagram, all that shit. We will be dropping some more content periodically to try to get some new fans out there. So if you've never experienced the Jersey Boyz podcast before, this is just a small taste. Usually you hear a lot of on paper and from Brett, and then you get some good analysis here. Listen, we are X's and O's guys, but we are mostly eye test people. I will say that right now. We've all played the game. We know the game. We love the game. But I'm not about to sit here and drop when he drops back 3 yards instead of 6, he's better. You know what I mean? Like we're not going to break it down like that on this podcast. If you're a good, diehard, old school Cowboys fan, you will love this podcast. So please tune in more as we get this shit rolling. So with that being said, enjoy the rest of your weekend. For Dave Sturchio and America's fan, Keith Ernst, this has been another episode, a first episode of this season of the Jersey Boyz Podcast, and we'll see you guys next time.
Hey, this is Tony Soprano, and you're listening to Jersey Boyz Podcast with your hosts, Dave Sturchio and the Ernst Boys. I mean, I could give a shit about the Cowboys. We're in New Jersey. These guys got balls being Cowboys fans in Jersey. Anyways, enjoy. Well, whatever.
How about this, Cowboys?